and welcome to Chloe's Corner. Tonight we'll be discussing the issue of sexting. With 93% of young people aged between 12 and 17 having access to the internet via smartphones, tablets, or other devices, the issue of sexting has now become one of great concern for parents and educators, with explicit images not only being seen by an individual but broadcast on the internet for anyone to see. The growing concern amongst parents and others is the suitability of criminalising sexting for youth. While the age and responsibility varies from state to state, teens who engage in sexting practices have the potential to be prosecuted under child pornography laws, meaning they would face being put on the sex offenders list. Without a doubt, this would destroy what could be a very promising future for a young person. Martinez and Pranther and Van Diver argue that teens participate in sexting because, unlike adults, teenagers do not have the same capacity to make rational choices before engaging in risky behaviours. It has been well documented, for example, that the part of the brain responsible for a higher level of thinking, like language and emotion, is not fully developed in teenagers. Recently, researchers noted because of their limited capacity for self-regulation and susceptibility to peer pressure, children and adolescents are at risk as they navigate and experiment with social media. The narrow standards of physical beauty and sexual conduct promoted by the porn and advertising industries, in its expression in social media, sexting is integral to social exchange, used by teens to flirt, forge romantic partnerships, joke around with friends, and have fun. Studies into cultural sexualization express concerns, however, that these trends compress childhood and adolescence and accelerate sexual development in addition to fears of loss of childhood. This process is considered unhealthy because children and teens are still developing cognitively, socially, and emotionally, and therefore lack adequate maturity to fully understand and consent to sexual material they are both producing via social media and exposed to through the wider media domain. Teens are also at risk because they cannot always control what happens to their images. While teens are hazy on the notion of consent, so is the law. Many states fail to differentiate between consensual and non-consensual sexting. Consensual sexting is when a minor takes a sexually explicit image of her or himself and sends it to someone else. In such instances, it's clear that no one is harmed or assaulted when the photograph is taken, nor is anyone hurt when it is initially communicated to its willing participant. Non-consensual sexting may involve coercion or blackmail in the taking of the picture, and significant harm can result. The law fails to distinguish between the two because sexting incidences are very assorted. They cannot be easily categorized. In some cases, a teen might take a picture and send it to an adult to which they are having a sexually exploitative relationship. In other cases, it may be difficult to determine whether teens who exchange images agree to what the use of the image would be. So the complications of distinguishing between consensual and non-consensual sexting are immense. The Victorian state government have this week changed the legislation in Victoria to decriminalise sexting. Under the legislation, people under the age of 18 who sext each other would no longer be found guilty of child pornography offences or put on the sex offenders register, but adults who send or threaten to distribute intimate images without consent would still face charges. So now you have the facts on sexting. I guess it's up to you. Is there really any harm in it? That's all we've got time for this evening. Thanks for watching Chloe's